Good morning, I'm Saria Stremska and this is World News coming to you live from Warsaw. And we start with the latest developments in Georgia. People rallied in Tbilisi for a fourth night on Sunday to protest against the government's decision to pause Georgia's European Union accession talks. The move follows EU resolution that denounced the recent parliamentary elections in Georgia as being neither free nor fair. Our team was on the ground last night to report on the unrest, and our producer took a direct hit to the eye from a water cannon. Our correspondent Don Arlef is joining us with more details right now. Hi Don, thank you for joining us. So could you please tell us what happened last night?
Yeah, so these protests as they unfold, usually around 7 p.m. in front of the Parliament building, you literally had thousands and thousands of people in front of the building, largely peaceful protests. However, there are young people here, lots of young people at these protests, and some of them are not so peaceful, if you would, I guess, describe it this way. You know, really, I guess, let's say this, the accumulation of the protesters and these protests that we've seen over the past year here in Georgia, well, now they're taking their frustration out by using fireworks and what have you at the police. You can see on the footage there. But our producer was trying to capture some footage of the crowds and literally just turned around and got targeted by one of the water cannons. Very high pressure, and he took a direct hit to the eye. So obviously we had to go to the hospital last night. He is injured as a result. And you know, this is what we're seeing here in Georgia. Like I said, a lot of peaceful protesters, but there are people firing fireworks and what have you at the police. And as the night goes on, generally these protests get a little bit more violent. You have you know, bonfires in the streets. The police have to come in. They have to clear these people out. And this takes place over the night. But generally, what we're seeing is as a result of these last elections where the situation is dire at this point, right? So you have enshrined in the Constitution that there's supposed to be a path to the European Union. The government obviously not wanting to do that. The protesters saying that this government is pro-Russian. And a lot of people fear that they're going to turn out like Belarus. But as you can see there on the footage, our producer, Michał Kulitsky, brave soul, was a victim last night of this targeting by the police while he was simply just filming, doing his job so we could capture footage for you guys.
Right, but he will be fine, right? All in all, he will be fine.
Yeah, he's up. He's looking much better today. But obviously, when you have an eye injury, we were a bit obviously very concerned last night. You have to take these things really seriously. And, you know, the police are also purported to be putting tear gas into the water cannons. Thankfully, with Michał, that wasn't the case. So maybe this injury could have been much worse had there been tear gas in the water cannon. But just the high pressure alone,
right. Imagine.
You know, and a direct hit to the eye, obviously
Absolutely
concerning.
Awful. That's right. Don Arlef, thank you so much for this first-hand account, and do stay safe. And now let's take a quick look at some of the latest images that we've got coming from Georgia. On to the results of Sunday's parliamentary elections in Romania. Nearly all of the votes have been counted, and despite a surge by ultra-nationalists, it seems that the country's government will continue its pro-EU and pro-NATO course. Romania's ruling leftist Social Democratic Party is on track to win the elections with 22.7% of the vote, holding an almost 5% advantage over the far-right Alliance for the Unity of Romanians. The centre-right National Liberal Party stands at about 14.4%, while the reformist Save Romania Party is at 12%. SOS Romania, the Democratic Alliance of Hungarians and the Party of Young People also managed to pass the required 5% electoral threshold. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz arrived in Kyiv Monday morning for a surprise visit, his second since Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine nearly 3 years ago. The visit comes amid Russian attacks on Ukraine, as well as uncertainty surrounding the US policy towards Ukraine and Russia during the second presidency of Donald Trump. Let's bring in now Oskar Terji, who is in Kyiv. Good morning, Os. So what do we know about Scholz's visit thus far? What are the expectations?
Well, the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz made his unannounced visit to Kyiv, his first visit to Ukraine since July 2022, where he has arrived to recommit support to Ukraine from the German government. Now, it must be said that Kyiv and relationships between Kyiv and Berlin have been slightly strained, given Olaf Scholz's decision to phone Vladimir Putin, to get in touch with Vladimir Putin recently. Zelensky was very critical of that decision, but Scholz is here in Kyiv, where he said that he is here to show support for the Ukrainian government, and he's announced already before talks have really got underway a further German 650 million euro military aid package to Kyiv. Now, on his arrival, he posted a statement saying, "I would like to make it clear here on the ground that Germany will remain Ukraine's strongest supporter in Europe." So a case of diplomacy here. Scholz may be on the way out as German Chancellor, depending on how the election goes. But regardless of that outcome, Germany, Berlin is here to show that it's going to continue that support for Kyiv, regardless of who becomes the Chancellor.
Oskar Terji reporting from Kyiv. Thank you so much for joining us. Russia launched another drone attack on Ukraine on Sunday night, targeting the city of Ternopil in the country's west. One person was killed. A residential building, a school and multiple cars were heavily damaged in the strike. Video footage found on social media shows a large fire engulfing a building. 3 people sustained injuries and about 100 residents had to be evacuated. Russian forces also struck Nikopol in southern Ukraine that same night, destroying residential buildings, cars and a power line and a gas pipeline. No casualties were reported there. European Council President Antonio Costa, EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas and Enlargement Commissioner Marta arrived in Kyiv on Sunday for an unannounced visit. Kaja Kallas underscored the need for Europe to invest in its own security. She went on to say that supporting Ukraine is not charity and that Europe must substantially increase defense spending. Here's more.
This is the moment where we have to look everything through security, through defense. It also means aiding Ukraine, and it's not charity aiding Ukraine, but it's really investment into our own security as well. So this is very important when we talk about food security, when we talk about cybersecurity, when we talk about migration. Also, these are all the things that we also look through the security lens. But most important is, of course, spending also defense industry is important because there is a war going on the European soil in Ukraine, and Putin doesn't show any signs that he has given up his goals.
And now on a domestic note, the former chief of Poland's internal security agency, Piotr Pogonowski, is expected to appear before a parliamentary committee after being detained early Monday morning. The hearing concerns the use of Pegasus and other surveillance spyware under the previous Law and Justice government. A statement released by Polish police on Monday morning said that Pogonowski had been detained for the purpose of being questioned in person. He served as head of the Internal Security Agency from 2016 to 2020. Currently, he is a member of the board of directors of the National Bank of Poland. Pogonowski was detained after he previously failed to appear at 3 separate meetings of the investigative committee on Pegasus use. He has called the committee, which aims to establish who was responsible for purchasing spyware platforms for Polish authorities, unconstitutional. Now let's turn to the latest flare-up of tensions between Kosovo and Serbia. An explosion hit a canal that sends water to Kosovo's 2 main power plants. Pristina labeled the incident a terrorist act by neighboring Serbia.
Apart from Kosovo, Serbia also wants to find out what exactly happened to the canal. The explosion, which damaged critical infrastructure, occurred near the border between Kosovo and Serbia on Friday. Belgrade's willingness to participate in the investigation comes after Kosovo's foreign minister alleged that Serbia was involved.
The attack was carried out by professionals. This was another criminal and terrorist attack, which we believe comes from gangs directed and orchestrated by Serbia, which has both the interest, the readiness and the ability to cause such attacks and damage. As a serious state, we do not accept such accusations. We also did not say, and I won't say today, that Mr. Kurti directly ordered that attack. Our own investigation will show what really happened. We are open to cooperation with Pristina.
In connection with the attack, the Kosovo police have arrested 8 people.
During a search, we have confiscated an arsenal of weapons, ammunition, explosives, other equipment, including insignias, hundreds of uniforms and other military equipment. These will serve as relevant evidence.
Earlier in November, Kosovo increased security measures around critical infrastructure and services. This came after 2 attacks on a police station and a municipality in the northern part of the country. Tensions between the countries have been ongoing for years. In 2008, Kosovo declared independence from Serbia. Belgrade has not recognized Kosovo as an independent state, even though over 100 countries in the world have.
And now the latest from the US. Joe Biden pardoned his son Hunter on felony gun and tax charges last night. This marks a U-turn for the American president. As previously, Biden stated that he will not use extraordinary powers of the presidency to the benefit of his own family. In a written statement, Joe Biden said the pardon was due to his son's convictions coming from what he called a miscarriage of justice. The president also said that the prosecution was politically motivated, as the charges in the cases came about only because Joe Biden's political opponents decided to use his son's legal trouble to derail his re-election prospects. Biden's pardon came just 10 days before Hunter's sentencing on federal gun charges. The son of the sitting U.S. president was also supposed to appear in court on December 16th for sentencing in his tax evasion case. And with this, we conclude World News. Thank you for watching. World Talks coming up next.